To the Life Burst podcast. We're going to be talking about the new L rigs that are coming out for Welcome Back Diva. This one we're going to be talking about is Sanga Vogue 3X. So it's the new Sanga that's coming out. It is a green L rig. It's got the ability auto at the beginning of your attack phase. If there are 3 or more colors among the signi on your field, choose one. Put target 1 card from your enter zone and put it into your hand. Or Enter Charge 1. It has the enter ability of Enter Charge 2. And then its action ability once per game is target one signy on your opponent's field with power 12,000 or higher, and then vanish it, target one of your cards in your enter zone, and add it to your hand. So the goal with this deck is going to be trying to Enter Charge here and there in order to power up our attacks here, but it's also going to be the fact that we want to be power up our draw, basically, right? So if we're up against a deck that's like really putting pressure on our hand, we can then draw a card with the thing in our enter, or we are using it to Enter Charge, which will let us do some stuff, more expensive things that we wouldn't normally do. However, we're also going to be a multicolored deck. In the fact that we do want to hit rainbow every turn. Now, we've done this before with the Sanga prior, and the main goal for that is going to be to play a lot of multicolored signy, right, in the level 1 slot, so that at any point in time we can be like, well, that's easy enough. We don't have blue, boom, we've got it here. We don't have green, boom, we've got it here. So we're going to be playing some multicolored effects as well on top of the multicolored commons that we're doing, or the level 1s that we're going to be doing. I've decided that the deck needs a little bit more power than what it normally would have in just being a green dream team. There's no real way to reward you for being multicolored in Wixoss. Yeah, there's some towel stuff. I don't think they're particularly great. So I think this is ending up being you want to be in team for this kind of thing, because you do just need a little bit more power boost, and the team can give you a little bit more power boost. So inevitably we do play Musica Power Move, which is just your bog standard opening a lane for you in the early game to do some damage, as well as Musica Splits. Musica Splits is a little less powerful. It is 1 enter to vanish something on your opponent's field, which is actually pretty good. It's really on rate for black, but the 4 enter to do the second vanish is a little bit tougher, and it's only 8,000. However, the deck does run, a fair amount of Enter Charge in it, so it's not unreasonable to be able to hit Musica Splits with this. The thing that you're going to be trying to split, most of the time you're going to be playing this for as just as just 1 enter vanish something. Most of the time you'll be doing Madoka Float and then following it up with Madoka Break, and you'd rather pay the entire 5 for this Madoka Break. Basically, the way I looked at it was like, if I'm going to Enter Charge 2 on the turn that I'm going to be playing my Sanga, and then potentially Enter Charge 3 on the turn that I'm going to be playing Sanga, what do I want out of that? What is a very high level, high enter cost thing that is going to be like particularly good for me? And when I did my searches, what I landed on was Madoka Break. So Madoka Break is very good if your opponent starts running out of resources. If it's not running out of resources, it's a little worse. We're not really playing a ton of discard to make it better. So if you wanted to swap this over to Madoka Clap, just because it's more standard, you could do that, and I think that would be perfectly fine as well, because you would be able to hit the 5 there as well. I think that people won't be expecting the Madoka Break, and generally speaking, you'll be able to bottom some signy from it. So yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty good option here. Then to finish it off, we've got the Xeno Cluster. It's pretty standard. This is more to protect the cards in your hand than anything else. I suppose if you wanted to play try to charge up your Madoka Break a little bit, you could swap out your Xeno Cluster with the Azure Blue-Black. And then I think it's called the Azure Blue-Black Gaia, maybe? Yeah, that's the one that costs, I believe, 3 enter and brings cards back to your hand and makes the opponent discards card. So you could do that in combination with the Madoka Break as sort of like a one-stop shop to get the Madoka Break off. The other one, though, is running Salvage the Future. As these games are going longer, which they currently are in the Wixoss meta. We're going to around turn 5, turn 6 nowadays. Salvage the Future just becomes pretty much a guaranteed 0 enter, deal 1 damage to the opponent, or at least deal 1 damage, refresh being the best damage that you could possibly do. So I think this is pretty good. You compare it again with our Langlings we have here, so you might be able to get a second refresh as well on some games. Jumping into our main deck, we have, like I said, a lot of level 1s that are also multicolored. So in this deck, we've got 3 of these Doomed Angels, and then TCs as well to just cover our bases. This is to give us some more blue. We have quite a bit of rainbow if you count the actual numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blue, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 black. And then with green, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's counting with Andrew. That's going to be basically the splits that you want to get at in order to basically be like, I'm going to hit my colors no matter what. That's the splits that I prefer to use in the deck. That's our level 1s. It's just a collection of those, but we also use Parajulius, just a 3 of. It's not very good in the beginning because we don't have really any great way to enter charge early on in the game. But then later down the line, this is something you can use to help finish up the job. Again, Sanga allows you to enter charge as its attack step, so you can go ahead and use this in order to get yourself your tricolor stuffs. When we're moving into our oh yeah, and then of course we've got Mirais. It's worth mentioning Mirai here counts as every color that you want it to count. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with that in order to make it so you are able to hit all your color requirements. The one thing I would consider and possibly worth mentioning here is maybe these Rafais should be imps in the blue-black multicolored. I like it to be green so that I'm hitting my numbers that I want to hit accurately, but if you wanted to swap 1, maybe 2 of these into your blue-black version, so that way you can guarantee things like putting a Parajulius down and then putting an Osagetsune and then putting the blue-black there to fill out your colors, you could do that. I think generally speaking you're going to end up with a blue card and then some kind of green card, whether it be Osagetsune or, Parajulius, and then probably one of your later game black cards. So I think that's how you're filling up colors, so you don't necessarily need to worry about it, but it's something to consider. The Mirais can be every color. They also have the ability to just kind of not be affected by what your opponent's doing sometimes with their level 1s, which is pretty good. Life Burst is good. Folklor's Life Burst, way better. The other Life Burst that we're running as our level 2s is actually going to be Zwei. So Zwei has a Life Burst that's look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put up to 3 from them among them to your hand and the rest on the bottom. This just helps as recovery against blue discard decks. And, black doesn't necessarily have, green doesn't necessarily have the greatest way to recover cards. So this is something that you can do to help do that. Moving into our level 3s, this is where our power really starts coming out. We have a 1 of Phalaris. It's just something that we can potentially draw. If it's in our enter, we can bring it back to our hand, maybe reuse it a couple times in that respect. The Langling is really good in the fact that you can use this to mill out your opponent a little bit extra, as well as it's just, generally speaking, you're always going to be able to get negative 10,000 for 1 black. That's still a really, really good rate even a year later. So I think it's very strong here. The other one that we're going to be doing, and this is kind of an interesting choice that I think a lot of people forget this card exists. It was in the starter deck. Is we can use Akonis type Dre. This has an interesting ability that is more relevant now than it used to be, which is when the Signy is vanished, you may pay colorless. If you do, the Signy in front of it gets negative 10,000 power till end of turn. So with souls being a big part of the Wixoss meta, you can put this in front of something that has basically a soul, or at least, if that's their preferred way to do removal is souls. it's going to be a little difficult to get rid of this and also still be able to attack through. There used to be some cleaner ways to do that, especially when we relied more on spells in Wixoss. Now that there's way less spells, this actually becomes a pretty kind of problematic Signy to put down. And so it's something that you can use, especially if your opponent's not really running any great way to get rid of this while keeping the lane open. But the enter effect is that you can pay black, and your opponent's Signy will get negative 3,000 for each different color among the Signy that you control. Again, since we're playing rainbow, right? This is going to end up being that we're going to get all 3 colors, so it's negative 9,000 for 1 black, which is actually pretty good. The Demeter is actually another card that's going to be a just another way for us to play with our rainbow. Because if we have rainbow, we can give Lancer to something. It just ends up being pretty good here, and that will always be the case. And then to fill us out, we've got Osagetsune. Osagetsune, fantastic Signy, rock solid green Signy from the beginning of Diva. It's going to be a solid Signy for a long time, I think. And then to round out our threes, or our spell slots, our flex slots, if you will, it's going to be the Anamirage. Pretty bog standard. We're playing a black deck. We want to have a little bit of recursion from the trash. This allows us to hit 13 Ks and also is got a removal built into it. It's very, very good overall. So that's the deck that I would be playing for the Sanga deck. Let me know if you guys have any other thoughts, something that you want to be different, maybe a dream team. This is just sort of where my gut instinct was at for it.